have an opportunity to go to the postseason and hopefully go to that NCAA tournament, as Coach Trilly said. What I want to say is this, since I've gotten here, and I look around the room and I listen to JT, and oh my goodness, if you guys really knew all the stories between him and Father Ned, you wouldn't believe it. Seeing Rick and just seeing parents of players that I've had at Capon and Newman, and it just gives me great joy. Very, very humbled to stand up here before you today. I'm not as funny as some of you guys prior to me. JT, you made me laugh for about 30 minutes, which I needed, believe me. It's good. That's good for me today. But I had one story about Sister Dolores as well, and I'm not going to be as good as telling the story as he is. But my first time that I had to go to the library, and of course I wasn't the academician type necessarily, but I made about a 3.2, so I was okay. All right, I got the job done. Thank goodness it was Sister Thomasine taking care of me too. But there's many instructors around here, but the first time I went into the library, I had to, because Coach Stewart, my coach at the time, said, you guys are going to put in 8 hours of study hall in the library, and you're going to sign in to the study hall sheet, and then you'll sign out when you leave. So when I went in, I signed in, and she says, your name's Mark? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, where's the other 5 players that signed in here? And I said, I'm not really sure. She says, you better go get them, or I'm going to go tell their coach right now. So anyway, that was my first opportunity to walk into the library and have my Sister Dolores. And I could tell you a lot more, but we don't have time tonight. But it was just, I kept thinking to myself, what in the world am I doing? But what a wonderful experience, and great memories as you guys shared, and it helped me to look back and really remember some of the great times. A lot of you thank many people tonight, and I apologize. I need a Kleenex or something because I'm struggling a little bit emotionally here tonight, I guess, in a good way. Thank you. Appreciate that. They'll appreciate that after I put all my snot on it. First of all, I want to thank Coach Trilly. I mean, the things that he said about me, and just appreciate your time and your effort. And thank you. I appreciate that. Well, whatever, Sarah. Whatever. Sit down. Okay. You just like. Anyway, another one of my old. Okay, that's a whole other story. Coach Trilly came here. How long you been here now? 4 years? 5 years? Seemed like a long time, yeah. Now, seriously speaking, he is when he talks about passion, and anybody that knows Coach Trilly understands what passion really means. And I remember our first meeting when Coach Trilly came in, and he got fired up. He was talking to the coaches, talking about all of his expectations, and I'm like, man, this guy may be a little bit, we weren't used to that. And it wasn't too long, probably, a month, 2 months, Coach Trilly, unfortunately, his lovely wife of 40 years didn't come with him the first 4 months. So she had to stay back in Garden City, and Coach came up to live in the dorm. Well, unfortunately, I'd be sticking around about 5:30. He'd come storming into my office. What in the heck's wrong with this book right here? How come we're doing this wrong? How come this is good? He'd just go on and on every night, almost 5:30. My wife would be saying, are you coming home tonight? It wasn't during basketball season. I was supposed to be coming home. Coach Trilly would come up my office, and the rest is history of the coach. I mean, we that's how we got to know each other. He said, how in the world? He'd always get frustrated. We'd talk. Next thing you know, we're laughing. And he's been a true mentor to me. He talked about the depression and the things that I've gone through. And what he doesn't realize is how he's helped me in the past years really not even become close to where I was 8 years ago. I'll never forget, and I don't even have this in my notes. I'm just going off. So that's what I do, Sarah, so I apologize. But I'll never forget, it was after a game. It was my first year that he was here as the athletic director, and he had known my story, but he didn't really know me quite well yet. And, I was coaching the game, and we had coached the game, and the game was over, and walked out, and Coach says, what are you doing this evening? I said, well, I'm heading home to watch film. What do you think I'm doing? If you don't know, he was a basketball coach for 30 years, okay, at the college level, and at every level, basically. And I kind of looked at him like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm going home to watch film. He says, why are you doing that? I said, because that's what coaches do, isn't it? Isn't that what you do? You go home and you watch film, you try to fix all the problems, then you come back the next day and you get after it again. You try to, he said, oh, okay, all right. If that's what you got to do what you got to do. He kind of looked at me like this, I'm crazy. And I'm thinking, I know what he did when he was young. I mean, he's 6, I'm not going to give your age. He's been married 40 years, all right? So there you go. But the man came back the next week and I said, what do you mean, what do I do after games? What do you do after games? He said, I didn't ask you that question. He says, I asked you what you do after games, because I knew good and well what he had done after games, and he was finding a way. But what he was doing was going here. He was going to this point. Here's this point. Why do you do that to yourself? Why do you go home at night, win or lose, and keep yourself up for 3 or 4 or 5 hours when you could probably go sleep and get a little bit of rest, and maybe you'd feel a little better the next day, you reckon? That common sense might tell you that, but I didn't have a lot of that, so it didn't matter. But Coach was a true, he was just a true mentor for me. He'd gone, he won't talk about this, but he'd gone through some stuff himself as a coach, and sometimes we're pretty hard on ourselves, This is why it's been an awesome evening for me, just to listen to you other guys speak, and the opportunity to look back and think about the great memories of Newman and of Kansas Newman College, and it's just, for me, it's been a great opportunity. And Greg, where's Greg? We got to get to know each other, because I can't tell you how much I appreciate that comment. And sometimes we never know. You're the man. Congratulations on your award tonight, and that just made my night. It made me feel great. So I really appreciate the support there. It's awesome stuff. And we don't even know each other, but yet he knows. And that's a great thing about the family at Newman University, is that we all support each other in one way or another. And just awesome stuff. So you made my night with that comment. I appreciate it. Okay, Sarah, I'll use that. Excuse me. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Coach Trilly gave me new life as a head men's basketball coach at Newman University. This was hard for me, Coach. He simply came in and embraced me. He has been a true mentor. He is the most loyal boss that I've ever had in my entire life. He always says, you are either in or you are either out. There ain't no way in between with Coach. Coach, I'm in 100%. You know that. Just tell you how much I appreciate you. The words really cannot describe how much I appreciate what you brought to Newman and to the athletic department, to Newman University as a whole. He said one time to me, he said, I got to find my notes here. I apologize. I'm not very good at reading my notes. I took my communications class at Cali instead of at Newman. I was a transfer. He said, he once told me that I belong in the best of the best. And this was coming from a man that had been assistant men's basketball coach at the University of Texas under Tom Penders. He's been at the Division I level for 9 years, been a head coach for 5 years at the Division I level, been at the JUCO level, been at the NAIA level, you name it, he'd been there and done that. It was like it validated me as a coach. It made me feel as if what I actually did was important, that I actually had somewhat of a clue what I was doing. People won't believe this about me, but sometimes when you're, especially on a day like today when you don't win the game, there's a lot of second guessing, and I know from fans that's going to happen anyway, but for myself personally, I'm going to second guess myself. It's just the way it is. I've been a head coach for 26 years, and that's the way it's going to be. We're going to try to fix the problems, whatever that may be, but when Coach told me that day, you'll just never know what it meant to me, Coach. Again, words cannot describe it. So, Coach Trilly, thanks again. You are the man. Thank you so much. Let's give Coach Trilly a hand for all that he's done. Next on the list, Sister Thomasine. Disappointed we didn't win today, isn't it? I know one thing, it's not because she isn't cheering us on, because she's right behind that bench going to work every game. And I mean going to work. But Sister was obviously one of the instructors of many, but she was in the education department, and therefore I had to have her, or she had to have me, for a lot of classes. And being a basketball and a baseball player, I missed quite a bit of class. Sister was always willing to work with the busy schedule that I had. It just never fazed Sister, in terms of that type of thing. She was willing to, I'll never forget, we were in baseball. Back in those days, we had to take our batting practice at 11 o'clock. Well, you wouldn't have liked this, Sister, or Dr. Coach, you would not have liked this. We didn't have lights. So therefore, all of our games were at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We missed a lot more school back in those days than we did now. But people like Sister Thomasine made sure we got it done, okay? But back in those days, I have 11 o'clock class. I said, well, Sister, I got to go take some BP. She says, well, get over there and get back then. So I'd head over and I'd get my hit, 10 swings or 20 swings or whatever, and I'd go right back to class. Because Sister Thomasine said, you get back over here. Game doesn't start till 1, Coach Sanagorski, he'll understand. And that's the way it was. That is the way it was. Got there in time for infield, and here we go. Off to the races. And that was just the way it was. It was just an awesome experience for me personally because, if you play 2 sports, you're probably not too bright, number 1. But number 2, when you do miss that much class, if you don't have a little bit of help, you are not going to survive. Because Newman is the real deal. And somebody alluded to that earlier. But Sister Thomasine, she kind of gets on me a little bit, where still to this day she gets on me. She says, and she's still our number 1 fan, always will be. It's just the way it's going to be. But I still get in trouble for yelling at my players. She says, Mark, stop yelling at the players. They can hear you. I'm sorry, Sister. Don't be at practice on Monday, whatever you do. She'll show up just because. Sister, thank you so much for what you meant to me personally, what you've meant to Newman. Again, words cannot describe. When I look back at those experiences, sometimes I wonder how I did survive, and I know why. Because we had support of sisters like you that made sure that things were going on around here that needed to be going on. And you always did it the right way. You taught me the right way, and I'm so thankful for that. So we got to give Sister Thomasine a hand. All right, I'm gonna start reading this, or I'll be up here all night. 8 years ago, I went through severe depression while I was working here at Newman. I hope I can get through this one. The basketball season had just begun, and I missed the first 8 games and about 20 practices. My life was turned upside down by this dreadful sickness. My family's life had also been turned upside down, as my wife and children had never seen me like this. My wife was feeling hopeless during the first 4 to 6 weeks because she didn't know if I was going to come out of the funk that I was in. We were discussing this just this past Sunday, this Sunday evening, as I was getting ready to make my notes out for this acceptance speech, and my wife said, when we received a card with all of the sisters' name on it, and also received a blanket from the sisters, the card said, each stitch represented a prayer from the sisters. That's what Newman University is all about. My wife was crying. As you can tell, I'm emotional, as I always am. It just absolutely does my heart just so much good to know that when I was at my worst, my absolute worst, they were supporting me and my family and whoever else needed their support. So to all the sisters and what you've done, thank you so much. Let's please give them all. I'm extremely humbled to receive this award. Most people that get this opportunity do it by working elsewhere and coming back home to receive the honor. It is priceless for me to be a part of this community and the Newman family for the past 15 years, and you guys still think I'm worthy of an award. It doesn't get any better than that. It truly doesn't for me. I'm truly thankful to Sarah Cundiff and the committee for allowing me to receive this award. Thank you so much. It is an awesome day for me and my family. And then finally, I want to thank my mother and father were supposed to be here this evening, and also my wife's mother and father were supposed to be here. And both of my mother and her mother both got sick. They both live in Sedan, Kansas, which is, I'm not trying to one-up you, Greg, but I start calling my wife right now when I was in 7th grade, just so you'll know. I can recruit. I can get it done. She's been my only girlfriend, my only wife, of course, for 28 years, plus the 12 that we spent in 7th grade and 8th grade and all the way till we got married. So it's been almost 40 years, I guess, Coach. Man, I am old, ain't I? Older than dirt. But my wife has been there, my daughter, who's sitting here, my son who's on the road playing golf, he's a professional golfer, his wife, our daughter-in-law, Shayla, my daughter's fiance, John. We're going to have them both married off. It's about time. I want to finish by saying that I have never been so humbled as I have been really in these past 3 weeks at Newman. And to have the opportunity to stand before you and to be able to accept this award and always know that what you did somehow, some way made a difference. Because that's what this mission at this institution is really about. The sisters, when we talk about them so much, it's not just talk. They walk the walk. And that's what it's all about. Thank you.